This is an update on the arrest and indictment of Diddy that took place last night. So according to the details, he has been charged with the following: racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. The indictment continues by saying that from 2008 until today, Diddy and his associates allegedly engaged in sex trafficking, forced labor, interstate transportation for prostitution, coercion, and enticement to engage in prostitution. Additionally, there are narcotic offenses, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and of course, obstruction of justice in the indictment. They also allege that Diddy operated in media entertainment and so-called lifestyle, but the purpose of the business was mainly to exert his power, self-gratification, as well as exploit women and use them for commercial sex work. And of course, the indictment mentioned his so-called freak-off parties, where it is alleged that they were produced, arranged, and directed by Diddy himself, which during he would please himself, as well as record the parties electronically. Now, will these recordings be revealed during the trial? That remains to be seen. And an even bigger question is, who among these celebrities and pastors are on these electronic recordings? I tell you what, Cat Williams ain't never lied. They say that this demon would lure the women and have them think that they would be engaging in a romantic relationship with him. And then he would use force and threats to have the victims engage in what they describe as extended sexual acts with male commercial sex workers. And the most disgusting of all is that after these so-called freak-offs, he would ply the victims with IV fluids so they could recover from the experience they just had. They also list the narcotics that were used, which includes cocaine, oxycodone, Xanax, GHB, yes, the date rape drug, as well as MDMA and ketamine. Which brings us back to when we saw the raids at his homes in Beverly Hills and Miami. Some of the items taken in the seizure include those he would use for his extracurricular activities, narcotics, and get this, more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. They also seized firearms, which included 3 AR-15s and magazines. They went on to document in the indictment the kind of violence he would use towards the women. And as we saw in that snippet of what he did to Cassie, they say that he would strike the women, punch them, drag them, and throw objects at them. He is scheduled to be arraigned on Tuesday morning, where all the charges that I've mentioned will be read, so stay tuned. Do you think he'll be able to get out of this one? Share your thoughts in the comments below. One thing's for sure is that 2024 is taking no prisoners from all these megachurch pastors being exposed to Diddy. I wonder who's next, because the year isn't over yet. If you haven't already, remember to like the video and subscribe. Also, turn on your notification bell and please watch when you're notified. I'd really appreciate it. And stay tuned for more. And if anything else comes up with this case, I'll let you know. Take care.
Sean Combs with racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution. The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. As alleged in the indictment, to carry out this conduct, Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity, including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice. The indictment alleges that Combs abused and exploited women and other people for years, and in a variety of ways. As alleged, Combs used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sexual performances with male commercial sex workers, some of whom he transported or caused to be transported over state lines. Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them. The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time, involved multiple commercial sex workers, and often involved a variety of narcotics, such as ketamine, ecstasy, and GHB, which Combs distributed to the victims to keep them obedient and compliant. As alleged, when Combs didn't get his way, he was violent, and he subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse so that they would participate in the freak-offs, and that Combs hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims, at times by their hair. In addition to the violence, The indictment alleges that Combs threatened and coerced victims to get them to participate in the freak-offs. He used the embarrassing and sensitive recordings he made of the freak-offs as collateral against the victims. And the indictment alleges that he maintained control over the victims in several ways, including by giving them drugs, by giving and threatening to take away financial support or housing, by promising them career opportunities, by monitoring their whereabouts, and even by dictating their physical appearance. Now, Combs did not do this all on his own. As I mentioned, Combs has been charged with RICO conspiracy. He used his business and employees of that business and other close associates to get his way. Those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff. The indictment alleges that those individuals facilitated the freak-offs. They booked the hotel rooms and stocked them with the supplies, including drugs, baby oil, personal lubricant, extra linens, and lighting. During the March 2016 incident at the LA hotel that I mentioned earlier, a member of the hotel security staff intervened, and Combs attempted to bribe the staff member with a stack of cash to make sure that what happened was kept quiet. And as the indictment alleges, in late 2023, after public allegations were made about Combs' crimes, he and others pressured witnesses and victims to stay silent, including by making phone calls to witnesses and victims and giving them a false narrative of what they had experienced. In March of this year, special agents from HSI executed search warrants at Combs' residences in Miami and Los Angeles. They also executed a warrant for Combs' electronic devices. During those searches, agents seized evidence of the crimes charged in this indictment. They seized firearms and ammunition, including 3 defaced AR-15s and a large capacity drum magazine. They also seized evidence of the freak-offs, electronic devices that contain images and videos of the freak-offs with multiple victims. And they seized cases of the kinds of personal lubricant and baby oil that Combs' staff allegedly used to stock hotel rooms for the freak-offs, more than 1,000 bottles altogether. As you can see here, this is a drum magazine, large capacity, and it contains, I believe, 59 rounds. I mentioned as well, we recovered 3 AR-15s. This is a close-up shot of one of the AR-15s, and you can see right here, the serial number has been thoroughly defaced. We will be seeking detention. We have filed a letter laying out our reasoning for seeking pretrial detention. I'm not going to be able to expand beyond what's in the letter, but it contains all of the reasoning, and it contains the law as well. There is a presumption of detention in a case like this, and we think that's warranted.
Is your office concerned with Combs' safety in custody given what happened with Epstein?
So we are concerned with anyone's safety whenever they are detained prior to trial. It's part of our obligations to keep people safe as well. It's part of the criminal justice system. So, but I do not draw any sort of connection between Jeffrey Epstein's suicide and what may or may not happen to any other defendant while they are detained pre-trial. And of course, the decision whether to detain the defendant will be up to a judge. Our position is that pretrial detention is warranted under the law and based on the facts of this case, and I'll leave it at that.